Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to do something a little bit different, which is going to be to use Blender to create a dome. Now, what's cool about Blender is that it's completely free, so it's open source 100%, and you can download it and just use some of the features to achieve some cool things that you can't really achieve in Rhino in the same way. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do here is just open up a brand new project, and the project is going to be under layout. Now what you'll notice is that when you middle click, you'll rotate around and you get the default cube. You can delete it. Now we're going to add an object. So the object that I was going to add for the dome is going to be a sphere. So I'll do Shift A, and then I'll bring in, there's different circles that you can, or spheres that you can bring in, but I'm going to bring in a UV sphere. And now with this one, we can scale it up. So I'll do S and kind of move this way. Give me 1 second, my dog's snoring. Okay, so now that we have the sphere, we can just click on the S, and that allows you to scale it. So it doesn't really matter what scale you make it, because we're going to bring it into Rhino and we can scale it there. But what we're going to do is go here to the right hand side, and here you have a bunch of these little tabs. We're going to go to modifier properties. Make sure you have the sphere selected, and then here's the sphere. Now you can change the name if you want. We'll just leave it as the default. And now I'll go to add modifier. The one that we want to use is decimate. And now notice that nothing happens, but once we start kind of pulling back the ratio, it starts kind of triangulating and start like creating this kind of weird type of pattern that we could use to create some interesting shapes. So we can always go back to like a really low ratio and then increase it slowly. What I don't want is I don't want to see the original. We could do this in Rhino, no problem, but this type of look, it's a little bit harder to get. So as long as you have something that you like, we'll go ahead and go apply. And what that does is it basically turns that shape into this. And now we can start adding more modifiers to further subdivide this. So we'll go to add modifier, then we'll go to, let's see here, I think it's wireframe. Where is it? There it is. Sorry about that. It took me a while to see it. So there's a wireframe, and then we can pick the thickness for the thickness of the wireframe. So that's kind of cool. But what we'll do is we won't replace the original. That way we get to keep both. And we can play around with the thickness and also some of these other options that we have, like relative thickness, boundary, even thickness. So these are the type of things that you can play with, and you can kind of offset it out or offset it in. So those are some of the options. I'll offset it in a little bit, that way it's intersecting with that plane. Okay, so the command, it's going to be just select this and go to File, Export, and then we're going to do it as an OBJ. Let's see if it does this. Yeah. And then here we'll go to wherever you want to place it, and we'll call it decimated dome 01. So export. Now we have this dome that we can bring into Rhino. So go ahead and open a new project in inches. And I'll go ahead and drag this right into it. So I'll insert it, and then hit OK, and then I'll place it at the 0, enter. Now we can go ahead and scale it. So I'll go to scale, then 0 for this first point, then here, and I'll say 30 feet. Then I'll do Z, E to zoom extents, then go to shaded and see what I have. So now we have basically this wireframe with this mesh inside. So what I'm going to do is do explode block. And now we have, let's see, and then we'll ungroup. And let's see what we have here in this mesh. So we have the wireframe, and what we want to do is basically turn it into a NURB. So we'll do mesh to NURB, and then we'll select it, and then we'll take the poly surface, move it to the right, and so that just gave us the inner portion. There's also an outer portion. So let's actually bring those back. This poly surface, this other poly surface, move it to the right. And here we have it as a NURB, so we can hide this one. And now we can create a box to subtract the bottom portion. So we'll go like this and bring this up a little bit. And then we'll do a Boolean difference. And then I'll explode this and keep that top piece. And there we go. We've successfully created a pretty interesting dome here with the inside portion, the outer frame, and we can go here to rendered view and see what that looks like. Now it looks like it has a material applied to it. So let's go to materials, and then we'll go to default material. Okay, the next part's going to be I'll go back to shaded, and I'll take this, and I want to give it a little bit of a thickness, and I also want to label these. So I'll change to this layer. I'll call this cover or glass. I'll go to change object layer. And the reason why the color is staying that way is because the object display color is not by layer. So that's something you might want to do, is just take this one, let's say, and we'll go to, well, we'll keep it on layer 1. Then we'll go to properties, display color. And once you have that, then we'll go to purge and get rid of everything that is not being used, and we'll call this structure. Now we can kind of change the colors a little bit to match what we're gonna do in our materials. So once you have this, we're gonna want to take this and give it a bit of a thickness. So there's two ways to do it. I'm not sure if it'll work this way. If you type in shell and tell it to have a thickness of 1, that's fine. And I'll remove this, and let's see if it creates a result that works. So it couldn't do it. So the other way that we're going to try it is go explode, and then remove the bottom face, and then join it again. So what we're doing is just getting rid of this bottom portion. Let's take this one, then do offset surface, and then go flip direction to go to the inside, and then do 1 inch. Make sure that you have solid, yes. This should work. Okay. So now that gave us a solid slab that we can now do a Boolean difference with this. Now before you do that, I would recommend doing a file, save as. That way you have the work saved and you don't lose everything that you've done up to this point. So I'll go here. save. Okay, now I'll do it. I'll do this one and Boolean difference, that other frame. And what you should have left over, if it does work, is the insides. Okay, so it didn't work, which is fine. Typically when you do apply materials and you render it, that's not going to really give us any issues. So right now what we'll do is we'll actually just apply materials. We'll go to the structure here under material, use new material, then we could import from library, and I like to use the metal polished steel. And for glass, we'll go to new material, then we'll go to glass, and then light blue. Now the reason why the materials are not working is because we have to go to materials, not by default material. We're going to do material by layer. So, and now we have the completed structure. Now there's other materials that you could change up, but this gives you an idea as how you can use Blender to bring in some interesting shapes and then here in Rhino further develop it.